All right, cool. I'm gonna get started. Have a lot to cover here because I kind of wanted to go a little bit deeper, just like it's gonna start with some example prompts, go into kind of the use cases that I use AI for, and I'm also gonna go into some other AI that I use. I kind of have a culmination of things that I've learned through trial and error with our team, but also just from I've taken courses on it. I use it on a day-to-day for my personal content, but also for clients. So have some pretty good experience with it, both creating sales assets, doing client market research, and even getting questions from sales calls. So I want to go deeper into that a little later, but let me get my screen shared here. Window. Okay. So this actually doesn't have much to do with the actual presentation. This is literally just copy paste of the ChatGPT prompts. But one thing I did notice is that you can actually create a ChatGPT flywheel out of this. So what I mean by flywheel is it kind of just keeps going around in a circle cyclically. Like you could talk to ChatGPT for 30 to 40 minutes straight about the same thing, just going back and forth, getting prompts, getting threads, getting ideas. And you'll see what I mean in a second. So this is what I was alluding to, Brandon. I was like, for some reason, when I was doing this, I was just thinking of you. So naturally, this entire thing, as an example, is going to be about 35-year-old men with 9-to-5 desk jobs, helping them lose weight. So pretty cool there. Yeah, so this is pretty cool. So I'm just going to start from the top. I've done this for so many different people. The thing that I find that works here is starting with kind of the generic client avatar. So right here, I'm going to write a Twitter thread about how I helped. Well, I have to let someone in. I'm going to write a Twitter thread about how I helped 35-year-old man with 9-to-5 desk job lose 23 pounds in 8 weeks without calorie counting, without this, without that. And how should I structure this Twitter thread in order to attract more people like that man? You have to be ultra specific. Don't say please or anything like that. I used to do that, but it messes it up. So it's just going to give you some basic stuff here. And this stuff is just kind of a baseline. You're setting a baseline for the conversation. So to attract more people like him, structure your thread this way, right? Intro, personal story, mindset shift, holistic approach, whatever, right? So I asked, what are some pain points, some more pain points I can address to attract 30-year-old men who work 9-to-5s? And then it's going to give me a whole list of pain points: time constraints, lack of motivation, sedentary lifestyle, emotional eating. And what I did is pick one of these, the one that I found to be the most content ready. So for me, I said, okay, can you expand on point number one, which was the time constraints? Certainly. So now it's how can you emphasize your approach to cater to time constraints? Okay, efficient workouts, integration with daily routines, no gym required, flexible scheduling, streamlined meal planning, right? Each one of these can be a piece of content, right? So what I did after this is going even deeper. So you're kind of going deeper and deeper into that rabbit hole. And then at the end, what you'll see is we're going to back out of that rabbit hole and then go down a new rabbit hole. And you can kind of just keep going on a merry-go-round, and you can do this for any client avatar. So I said, okay, I would like to read a thread on point number 5, which is the streamlined meal planning. Give some ways a 30-year-old man who works a 9-to-5 can streamline their diet without any drastic changes. I actually had a typo and it didn't care. So it's pretty cool. Certainly, here's a thread, right? Some basic stuff. Gives me a thread on all sorts of ways that they can streamline the diet. So I'm like, okay, this is mid. So naturally, I'm like, give me 5 ways a 9-to-5 working man can improve their diet without meal planning. So then it goes even deeper on a way that they can meal plan the way that they can diet without meal planning. And I'm just going to keep going deeper on this. And what caught my eye on this one was this part right here. With my thread brain, we write hundreds of threads a month. So the first thing that caught my eye here was when it said stock healthy staples. I was like, all right, give me a list of 17 healthy staples that a 9-to-5 man could keep in their pantry. And what it does here is it literally gives me 17 staples. And this is a whole thread. If anyone's been on Twitter, they've seen a thread just like this, right? 17 staple foods that you could put in your pantry as a 9-to-5 man.
Canned beans.
Whole grain pasta, quinoa, canned tuna. It gives you all 17, right? So I'm like, all right, this is right here. Like, this is the meat and potatoes of a good thread. So I'm like, all right, let's go deeper here. And then naturally, I didn't know that it couldn't do this. It's done it before, so this is a little finicky. I've done it for myself, but I said take this list, turn it into a Twitter thread, and use the style of Dan Go. It didn't let me, so I have the workaround for you, which is cool. Is I actually just copy and pasted Dan Go's thread here about some random thing. I don't even know what it's about. Top 10 supplements, right? I use Tweemax. And then I said, and this is the key here, right? Analyze the above style. You can not only do this for people in your target market who you want to mimic. Oops, I didn't let someone in. So for me, right, if I wanted to mimic JK, I could copy and paste this thread, put it in quotations and say, analyze this style, and now rewrite me a thread in his voice. And you could do that, Brandon, for Dan. Lucas, you could do that for Steven Trister. Faraz, you could do that for Dakota. Brian, you could do that for me. Tom, you could do it for anybody, right? So that's how you analyze the voice. And you can do this for yourselves, right? If you have enough of your own content where you've already developed your own voice and you've went viral with your own threads, write it in your own voice, right? If you don't have a voice yet and you've never went viral, I highly recommend analyzing people who have in your niche, right? So anyways, analyze the above style, Dan Go. Certainly, and what it does is it spits me back in his voice. And I didn't really love it. So you'll see what I do here to kind of threadify it. Me and my team like to call it threadifying. So we threadify this, ready? It's all good stuff so far. I'm like, hashtags are dead. So I'm like, rewrite this with no hashtags and no emojis because those are corny, right? So now we've got no hashtags and no emoji. Now we've got something here, right? This is almost perfect. So I'm like, all right. And if you guys didn't notice, what's the first thing you notice about this thread that's not good? These exclamation points, right? Like nobody talks like that. Nobody talks like that. It's weird. So don't do that. So I scroll down, I'm like, rewrite with 1 sentence per line. So now I've got it 1 sentence per line. And what I would do here is add pictures. And you'll see I tried to add pictures with ChatGPT earlier. I obviously just cut it off because it was too long. I said rewrite in a less excited way, be emphatic and straightforward with the information because I didn't like how it was being weird. So now it's being emphatic with less information. It still has this exclamation point, which you could just edit out. But now it's being straightforward and emphatic with all of the information. And then I said add pictures, but it didn't listen to me. So just Google the pictures, right? So then I was like, all right here, I have a whole thread right here. I don't really have to add anything. The one thing I could add if I had more time that day is you could add a third line, maybe adding your personal opinion on it or a personal anecdote about each piece of lean protein, whole grains, right? I'm not a fitness guy, but I imagine some of this is pretty good. And if you don't agree with like legumes, you could just substitute it out for one of yours. So this gets you about 90% of the way through on a thread. And we've been on this call for like 4 minutes, right? This would take you like an hour. So now this just gets to the flywheel point, right? So I was like, all right, I'm done with that. Let's go back to the original prompt. You don't have to start anything new here. Let's go back to the original prompt. All right, it just kind of spits out what we had originally. So now I'm like, use the above structure, the structure that it gave me, this 9-part with calorie counting and all this stuff. Use the above structure and write me a Twitter thread. And this is for case study threads, right? Everyone knows about sawdust and case study threads. This is for a case study thread. Use the above structure, write me a Twitter thread about a 35-year-old man named Dan. Dan is an accountant. He's 68 pounds overweight. He wants to lose weight so he can be more active with his kids and have more energy in his days. Super specific. 1 of 7, meet Dan. It gives me literally a whole thread on this fictional character that doesn't exist. But if you put someone that's actually exists, AKA a past client, now you have the blood and guts of a case study thread. Rewrite without hashtags or emojis. And apparently you can't do Alex or Mosi, but what you can do is rewrite in the voice of pretty much anyone that has enough information online. So I said rewrite in the voice of Gary Vaynerchuk. This is pretty funny. This is the story of his remarkable weight loss journey. Let's talk about Dan. It's interesting, actually. I actually liked the Gary V one better than the original one. So you can rewrite this in the voice of any famous marketer. You could do Ogilvy, Gary V, Grant Cardone, Ty Lopez. I'm not sure who else. Those are the 4 that I've tried so far. I'm sure you could probably do like Dan Locke or something like that, or anyone that's big. You probably do Jeff Bezos if you wanted. So you can rewrite this in the voice of anyone, or alternatively, you could have it analyze, as we did above, any past thread of yours, a competitor's, etc., and you'll get the voice of that thread. Now I wanted to go into the DMs, right? So this is even further down the rabbit hole. I'm going to reach out to men in their 30s who interact with this Twitter thread. So now you're talking about warm DMs. So for those of you who are doing outbound campaigns, warm DMs. This is great. So what are some common objections a man in his 30s who works a 9 to 5 may have? Lack of time, financial concerns, skepticism about results. And I'm sure these look familiar, Brandon. Fear of injury, motivation, accountability, perception or inconvenience, whatever. So I said, what are some ways I can address point number 6, the inconvenience aspect, before getting on the call with the prospect? Clearly communicate the convenience, showcase the time efficiency, highlight minimum equipment, stress the portability of your workouts, etc. Right? Even deeper, you could keep going. On point number 4, stress the portability of workouts. What are 9 body weight workouts a man in his 30s can do from home in 20 minutes? Now you have a whole nother thread coming, right? Here are 9 body weight workouts that a man in his 30s can do from home in just 20 minutes. Boom, 9 workouts. Record yourself doing all 9 workouts like Dan Go does. Another thread, right? But you can go even deeper. Actually, I wrote hooks too before I went deeper. So turn this list into 3, or I'm going to write this Twitter thread on this, write me 3 potential hooks. So it wrote me 3 potential hooks. They're not great. So I rewrite without emojis. I think I ever said reduce. Yeah, start each hook with a statistic. So if you guys have seen any of my stuff, I love big numbers in my threads. So I actually said rewrite the threads and start them with statistics. So it starts them with statistics. According to recent research, 73% of people struggle to find time for the gym. It's a good one. It's a good hook. Didn't even have to learn anything. You just got the statistic right to you. And then I said, okay, 73% of people struggle to find time for the gym. 9 at-home bodyweight workouts that will sculpt your dad bod. I added that. Complete this list. So I told them to complete the list for me. You could do this without any of the above stuff, of course. You could just write this, and then it'll create your list. This is another prompt for you guys. And then it completed the list. And then I went deeper into like this, right? So now you got an objection, right? Someone DM'd you and said, or someone replied and said they can't do squat jumps. What are 2 alternatives? And I'm sure you probably know this, but I didn't. Step ups and glute bridges. And now gave me alternatives because someone can't do squat jumps because they're probably too big or something. So that's what I mean by a flywheel. And you could literally do an entire thread. Now I could ask it, give me 10 alternatives to squat, or give me 10 exercises that are knee friendly, right? And you can now go into that flywheel, and then I can just return back to the original prompt, go deeper on another point, write another thread, go through another objection, and then back to the original prompt, right? You could do this for quite literally the entire day, and you will never run out of content. So I know some people say like they don't have like content ideas or anything like that. Hold on, let me let in Ben and Harriet in here. So if you're ever struggling for content ideas, you have writer's block, go to ChatGPT and just have a back and forth about your client avatar, and you will have infinite ideas. Because if you don't agree with the points, make a tweet about the fact that you don't agree with it. Like just tweet like the main thing. Like if you don't believe in mountain climbers or something, like literally tweet that. You know what I mean? I think, and I'm going to go over this in the next episode with JK on the pod, but this guy tweeted once, it's Alex Hormozzi's editor and JK's editor. He tweeted, too many people are suppressing what they actually think, their actual unique perception on things in their content, and they just sound like everybody else. If you just say what you genuinely think, all of your unique perceptions, that'll actually build you a personal brand better than just spewing out a bunch of facts all the time, right? So like, if you don't agree with some of that stuff, put it on the timeline. That's what makes you, you. Otherwise, you're just another fitness guy giving information, right? I can get that from ChatGPT. So if you get this ChatGPT and it gives you these 9 workouts, right? Which workouts don't you agree with? Why not? Why do you like certain workouts? If it gives you push-up, squats, and mountain climbers, why do you like push-ups? Why don't you like squats? Why don't you like burpees? Why do you like planks, right? Talk about that on the timeline. If you're in fitness, that's what makes you unique from other people. Otherwise,